So we've got the new Z Fold 6 and Z Flip 6 in all of the colors. And then we've also got all the accessories, or at least a bunch of accessories to go with them, including a bunch of stuff over here, the new watches, headphones, watch bands. We have the first party Samsung cases, and I also have my gold samples of all the new later cases to fit on these new Samsung devices. So there's a lot to do in this video for the very first time. Now, this is my first interaction with the device, and they've continued to refine this product line. So these flat edges and this lighter package creates a device that feels closer to a non-folding device, to a typical smartphone like an S24 Ultra. I think flattening this edge out has made it so that this ridge on the inside is less perceivable to your thumb. So you just kind of forget that it's there when you're using it in its folded orientation. It also, for some reason, feels slimmed down in the hinge area, and just the whole package feels tight and finished. Of course, since it's a folding device, the magic happens when you unfold it. You get this really large internal display, and you'll also notice you've got your hidden camera still up in the corner. It's packing the latest Snapdragon. Actually, both of these devices are, whether you select for the Fold or the Flip. Flip's got a few more color options, this mint over here. However, if you want pink, you're looking at the Fold. I've been a Fold guy in the past. Pretty much every single Fold device that's come out, I've used as a daily driver for an extended period of time. And I think it's gonna be no different this time around. Triple camera setup, ultra wide, wide, and telephoto, and a variety of options for front-facing camera, because we have the external cover camera, which is gonna be high quality like any other Samsung flagship. And then we've got the backup of the internal under-display camera, which of course lights up in functionality once you launch the camera app, or if you're doing some sort of video conferencing or something. Now, because these devices have this folding capability, it means they can do some interesting things as far as like standing them up, probably more so on the Flip than the Fold. Like this one, if you launch into the camera, you guys have probably seen this before, but of course you have your very own built-in permanent tripod, which is useful for filming your own content. And now we've got some AI features that you're gonna notice here as Mo steps out into frame and it notices that there's a human there. It's gonna zoom in. You've seen this feature before, and this is just a useful thing so you don't have to worry when you're recording yourself that you don't have a cameraman. So two devices, I'm curious which you guys are more compelled by. I mean, in one case, you end up with a device that's incredibly portable and sleek, and when it's unfolded state, it's just so thin. Like, look at that thing. Extremely comfortable for taking actual phone calls. You do end up with a slightly strange aspect ratio for watching video if you do a lot of that, but if you value portability and versatility, you're gonna be interested in the Flip. If you want the powerhouse media consumption device with the best speakers, the biggest display, the resolution, then you might be looking at the Fold like I do. The Fold also gets a slightly larger battery, but then it's gonna consume more battery life because you're running that larger internal display. All right, let's talk a little bit about specs. These colors on the Flip 6, Silver Shadow, Blue Mint, and Yellow. Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 available on both of the devices, 256 and 512 right away for the Flip 6. You can take the Fold 6 all the way up to 1 terabyte. Both options will feature 12 gigs of RAM, 4,000 milliamp hour battery on the Flip 6, 4,400 milliamp hour battery on the Z Fold 6. 25 watt super fast charging on the wire for both devices. When it comes to wireless charging, it's 10 watt wireless charging 2.0 on the Flip. You get 15 watts of wireless charging on the Fold. Both of them are capable of wireless power share. The main display on the Flip 6 is 6.7 inches, whereas the main display on the Fold 7.6 inches. They both feature that variable refresh from 1 to 120 hertz. And as mentioned previously, you're getting higher resolution on the main display of the Fold, 2160 by 1856 versus 2640 by 1080 on the Z Flip 6. They've both got dynamic AMOLED 2X. When we get to the cover displays, I think the gap gets a little bit bigger. The flex window, as Samsung calls it, on the Z Flip 6 is 3.4 inches at 60 Hertz, whereas the cover display on the Fold is quite a bit larger at 6.3 inches, mimicking a standard smartphone even in its folded orientation. Resolution is also a bigger gap on these external displays, 720 by 748 on the Flip versus 2376 by 968 on the Z Fold 6. Of course, the rear camera advantage goes to the Fold also because you're adding that third camera, the 30 times telephoto at 10 megapixel. Otherwise, you've got a 12 megapixel f2.2 ultra wide and a 50 megapixel f1.8 wide on both of the devices. The Flip didn't change in terms of weight, but it feels different. These flatter edges serve a similar purpose to what they do on the Fold in making the device feel a little cleaner and making the gap feel more imperceptible. We have these same little ridges that attempt to lock up the device when it's in your pocket in order to keep that internal display free from dust, grit, sand, and so on. The Flip is incredibly comfortable to hold. In its unfolded portrait orientation, you're definitely capable of using it with only one hand. That's a little tougher to do on the Fold, only because it's thicker to begin with, considering the fact that it's folded. So you have a little bit more range to cover. And then when you've got it open, obviously this is a two-hand experience rather than one, but it's obviously going to be fantastic for media consumption. Now, when it comes to accessories, here are our first-party options. We have the silicone case for the Flip 6 available in at least 3 colors that I've got here. So this is a 2-piece case without the loop. However, it has this little piece, I guess, that sort of slots through here. So it covers the back side. It's some kind of synthetic material, and it also has adhesive strips so it stays attached to your phone. I'm not gonna use those adhesive strips right now, but essentially that's how it works. Now, for me, I've always valued the thinnest cases possible, which was, of course, the inspiration for the later case brand. And it seems to be especially important when you're dealing with devices that are already large or heavy to begin with. You're trying to add as little as possible in order to make them as usable as possible. So we have our gold samples over here, and these again use an adhesive strip. I won't apply it for the purpose of this video, and sometimes honestly I'll even just use the back portion. I find that if I use the back portion of the later case, it gives me a slightly bigger ridge to grip. This really depends on your preference, but of course we do have the front frame as well, offering protection in those corners, which is key because those are the vulnerable locations when or if or hopefully you don't drop your phone. You can see when it's in its open orientation, this seam is closed up even further by the later case in this situation. So these are available right now. If you're considering ordering one of these new Samsung devices, you can pick up a later case either for the Fold or for the Flip, which we have right here as well. Super thin, pretty much the thinnest case you can make, with a material rigid enough to hold up even while being this thin. And of course, don't forget you have that premium Kevlar texture for that satisfying feel every time you take the device out. I also found in the past that going with no case, which is a thing I used to do, is especially difficult with the Fold because of its density. It just seems more likely to slide out of a pocket of a pair of shorts. However, the later case provides just enough grip that happens a lot less frequently, so you're not as nervous hopping in and out of the car. I'm sure people have had that experience before. It's of course horrible when you watch the brand new device hit the pavement with nothing on it, so put something on it. And if you want the thinnest thing, you can check out later case. All right, let's test a couple of things on the phone. So I do want to see these cameras first and foremost. I am going to grab my trusty plant over here. Look how crowded the table is. We truly have everything here. The watches, the straps, the phones in every color. Let's go ahead and start with the ultra wide camera, which they're calling 0.6, boom. Move up to 1, boom, and then all the way into the telephoto at 3. We have pretty good camera versatility here. We can grab all the way into there. Optically, of course, look at the detail that is present. Let's check our brightness. Oh, we have plenty more. By the way, I'm just gonna say it right now. I'm gonna switch to this phone. I have just been a fan of the Fold devices. Every iteration, I feel compelled to pick it back up. There is something that feels just so productive about having this big internal display. It makes me more inclined to do work tasks. When I unfold this device, I feel like I'm in a web browser that's a lot more like a laptop, particularly if you just select for the desktop browser, which you can totally use on this device. Anyway, it also lets you inspect pixels really well because it's not just a resolution thing, it's actually also a scale thing. So let's move over to the main camera. This one looks even better. I mean, holy, you can just crop in on that one if you want. And then of course the ultra wide, you want to fit more into the frame. Now, there is a selfie camera here, and if I flip this around, you'll sort of see how it works. It looks maybe a little bit better than it has in the past. This, of course, is an under display. It says keep that lens clean for clearer pictures. Is it gonna rival a non-under screen front-facing camera? No. Is it gonna be usable for video conferencing? Absolutely. I think that's more than capable for that purpose. But if you want the highest quality front-facing camera, that of course is gonna be on the cover camera right here. So this one's gonna be a little bit better. And it also has 2 settings, so you can go a little bit wider to fit more into the frame. And this one is gonna give you a lot more detail and sharpness. And it's pretty obvious at this point. We've seen under display cameras, there are compromises. In this case, it really makes sense because you're not distracted by it when you're using your consumption screen, and if you really need a high quality selfie, you're probably using the external camera anyways. Now, the other thing I'm curious about here is the multimedia performance, since this is going to be a multimedia powerhouse. Man, that's the part that I miss. Just typing on the split keyboard, so satisfying. It's like kind of almost reminds you of the BlackBerry days. But it's even better. Look how big that keyboard is. So you can see just how blazingly bright this is. Like, Mo needs to adjust his exposure to deal with it, but I mean, sometimes that's what I want, all right? Maybe not all the time, sometimes direct sunlight. Let's jump over to YouTube and see how this thing does when it comes to media consumption. I really look at this as like the premium media consumption device. It's a tablet that's in your pocket. It's the biggest screen that you're gonna put in your pocket. I mean, that's any folding device, but primarily this one. The Fold series is the one that I have the most exposure to. There's a subconscious thing that goes on when you're watching something on your phone where you're like, man, I really, you're irritated. You're like, I really wish I was watching this on a bigger screen. You don't get that same feeling, or at least not as quickly when you're on the internal display on the Fold. That has been the case. It remains the case on the latest iteration, on the latest refinement. Speakers, same thing. Like, we've obviously got stereo performance there. This reminds me that I missed the Fold. That's what this reminds me of. Which one are they leaving here, Will? Which one am I using? Which color do I? So the Flip for me is more about versatility, maybe a little bit less about content consumption, maybe a little bit more about content creation. So in the camera mode here, I mean, minus the fact that we're missing that one camera, but in the camera mode, we've still got 2 to choose from. We have obviously our 0.6, we have our 1x, and these are still creating, I mean, like, look at this stuff. Beautiful, usable images, plenty of resolution to work with, really nice display, lots of brightness here as well. But of course, the magic happens on the exterior display because there's just so few phones that can do this. So we lock right into the camera, and now we have the ultimate selfie / I'm shooting a video of myself machine. You can see it's kind of like having a cameraman, and if I move a little bit to the side, it moves out in order to fit me into the frame. And so if Mo walks into frame, it will realize we're filming 2 people, spots the side of his face, and then now there's a group in the frame. And look, it's looking for that edge in order to fit the both of us. Plus, you've got gestures built in, so I can go ahead and lift my hand up to one photo. And the other beauty here is that we're able to monitor and frame up an image that will be eventually shot by the superior external camera, whether it's an image or video. Instead of an internal selfie equivalent, we have an image that seems like somebody else took it, because that's the quality you're getting with the exterior camera. Now I'm curious how the speakers are going to compare. Obviously in this case, like, one of the main drawbacks I would say is that the aspect ratio for watching video is worse. You've got this sort of long display. Productivity is fine. When you split it in half, you're actually, in many apps, it's going to recognize that and orient things in such a fashion to utilize the fact that you have it split in half. But when it comes to just watching straight up video, it's not going to be able to compete with the much larger internal display on the Fold. But again, that's not really the point of the Flip. The Flip is sleek. The Flip is something that you're gonna notice a lot less in your pocket. Obviously, it's a smaller overall package, and it has some of that creative versatility as far as the folding is concerned, and the ability to kind of be your AI cameraman. All right, so obviously there was a lot to cover in this video, but I do want to quickly look at some of the other items that were announced today, at least at the time that you're watching this video. There are new watches as well. Galaxy Watch 7 in a variety of colors, and then without the retail packaging, I have their new Ultra Watch, also the rugged powerhouse version from Samsung. We have some straps, and we've also got new buds. We have the Galaxy Buds 3 and the Buds 3 Pro. The Watch 7 is available in green, either large or small. However, the cream color is small only. The silver, large only. Kind of interesting. Got a digital bezel, and it's made out of aluminum. The large size comes in at 44 millimeters, the small 40. It's got an Exynos W1000 chip inside, 2 gigs RAM and 32 gigs storage. The battery, which is capable of fast charging, is 300 milliamp hours, and it's got an IP68 rating for durability. It'll work with Android 8 or higher, so you don't need to pair it with a Samsung device. Any Android device will do. The large one is 33.8 grams and the small 28.9. The Watch Ultra that I think you guys are going to be interested in, it's the new product line for them. Titanium gray, titanium white, or titanium silver. And of course, you can spec it with the bright orange watch band. Now this one is actually made out of grade 4 titanium, so welcome Samsung to the titanium party. It's also got a digital bezel, but it packs a quick button. Same chip inside, Exynos W1000, 2 gigs RAM, 32 gigs storage, much bigger battery here, 590 milliamp hour, still got fast charging. It's IP68 as well, and Samsung states from 55 degrees to 20 degrees operating temperature, that's in Celsius, and it's also guaranteed to a high altitude of 9,000 meters. It'll also run on Android 8, so you can pair it with your favorite Android device. Now let's quickly go over the specs on the new Buds. The Buds 3 available in silver or white. They feature adaptive noise cancellation, and you can adjust their EQ. And you've got a bunch of other ways to interact, including force touch, swiping. There's accelerometer built into the unit. They're 4.8 grams. Now, what about the Buds 3 Pro, also available in silver or white? These ones offer an enhancement to the speaker unit. These are two-way compared to the one-way single amp on the Buds 3. They've also got adaptive noise canceling. You've got ambient mode, which can set itself up based on your surroundings. They're also IP57. The battery inside the earbuds a little bit bigger at 50 milliamp hours. You got the same 500 milliamp hours on the charge case. So plenty of new cool stuff from Samsung today. I'm gonna ask you guys the question one more time. Out of the new devices, which one would you pick and why? And also remember, if you want to outfit it with one of the new later cases, go check out the description for all the details on how to pick your favorite color. And even if you don't have one of these devices, there's probably a later case for you. So head on over latercase.com and take a peek.